Geordie Journo's back outside the Newcastle United Media Centre, where we've been speaking to Eddie Howe ahead of Newcastle United's return to Premier League action at St James's Park against Wolves on Saturday. Good to be back, Jordan?
It is. Well,
until Eddie Howe opened his mouth.
Yeah, it was good to be back until Eddie Howe spoke to the press at 9:05 this morning, because, which we'll come on to, it wasn't really positive news in terms of news.
This is no slight on Eddie Howe.
No, it's nothing to do with Eddie Howe.
It's more what he said and the news he delivered, because we were all quite excited. Newcastle back in action. The dust has settled on the summer, sort of whirlwind summer. It's the first time we've spoke to Eddie Howe since the sale of Alexander Isak, since Yoane Wissa joined the club. We've got Nick Woltemade in as well, and Newcastle still looking for the first win of the season. So let's get our teeth into it. And Eddie Howe had plenty to say, let's say.
Yes, I mean, we'll just get through it.
You'll know by now.
It's really
if you've seen anything Eddie Howe had to say. But take it away, Jordan.
Yeah, so starting with Yoane Wissa, Newcastle United's new £55 million signing.
New number 9.
Getting him in on deadline day almost sort of masked the fact of losing Alexander Isak. I think I think we ended the window feeling positive. We got rid of a player who didn't want to be here and brought in a player who with proven Premier League experience. I think debate between who would start between Woltemade and Wissa against Wolves. I think everyone was sort of unanimous in the fact that it would be Yoane Wissa. You reckon? No. Well, a lot of people I speak to said Wissa, which maybe you're different, but I would say the majority. I would not anonymous. The majority said Yoane Wissa. But talking through the points here, that's not an option. They cannot play Yoane Wissa, or Eddie Howe says he cannot play Yoane Wissa against Wolves because he picked up a knee injury on international duty with Congo. No mention of a return date, is due to undergo further tests this week, a scan, so he's out of the Wolves game. What that means heading into the Barcelona game remains to be seen, but what is confirmed is that he's out of the Wolves game and they haven't got the proven Premier League goal scorer through the door. Well, they've got him through the door, but they can't play him yet, so he's got a delayed debut.
Yes, and what worries me is the no return date, and then he's talking about a knee injury. Knee injuries can be anything from a week to a year. Yeah. Which is really...
Sven Botman's the case in point.
And Eddie Howe mentioned going to see a specialist, and I just think whenever specialists get involved...
Yeah, gives you the jitters. Yes,
so we'll wait and see on that, but what worries me with Yoane Wissa is this delayed debut, no set return date. All of a sudden, if you're looking at... I'm thinking of absolute worst case scenario here. If you're looking at months on the sideline, what if he gets back and then he's away at the African Cup of Nations for a month? We could be looking at this situation, Newcastle's new number 9, and we're looking more towards 2026 before we really start seeing him in action. But that is... I'm getting ahead of myself there. I'm just thinking worst case scenario. Hopefully this specialist goes, what you're seeing me for, you're fine, son. Get yourself cracking on against Barcelona. But based on what Eddie Howe said, it didn't sound that good.
Just with the sort of like knees, they're so complex, as you mentioned before. I see that the case of point of this is Sven Botman, when he thought he was fine and ended up being out for another 3 months earlier this year. It's like it's just one. The knee injury is not. It's not good. It's not good. I mean, look, there's nothing to suggest he'll be out for a long period of time, but I think it's just a bit of like a deflation. It's like a balloon where everyone was so excited about seeing the new signing, and the fact that we're not going to see him. It's popped a little bit of a balloon, but of course they've got an alternative, which we'll come on to in a bit. But yeah, it's just a shame, because I was really looking forward to seeing him in action. It was just like, I see a proper Premier League goal scorer leading the line after being starved of it for the opening 3 games of the season, when it was just like it was a hard watch not seeing Newcastle without an experienced striker, and then to finally get one through the door, and then they still can't use him. It's just a massive deflation. But we'll see the implications and what happens this week. Hopefully it's just this game me back against Barcelona, but we don't know the answers to that yet.
Yeah, but one player who will be out for Barcelona, Jacob Ramsey, another summer signing, which, I mean, he signed with that sort of caveat of he is injury prone, he has had an injury history, and look, I think the 2 games he's played for Newcastle, coming on against Liverpool and then the 45 minutes against Leeds before he picked up that ankle issue, he's looked very bright, very positive, but now is set for a spell on the sidelines, which Eddie Howe said, sort of unprovoked. He just said any other injury, was asked about any other injury issues, and he went Jacob Ramsey out until at least the next international break, which whenever Eddie Howe says that, I almost tie it to Callum Wilson. It's almost never the game after the international break, but we'll wait and see on that. But at least, based on what Eddie Howe's saying, that's the next 7 games for Jacob Ramsey, which during such a hectic spell, mixture of Premier League, Champions League, Carabao Cup football, is a massive blow for a player who was looking like a very useful sort of rotation squad player to come into the side and make an impact.
Yeah, I mean, again, we don't know the severity of Wissa's, but 2 big injuries before you anticipate injuries coming. It's during the busy period where you expect injuries to come in. Yeah, the Jacob Ramsey one, I think, is just because he started his career so brightly at Newcastle. As I say, that positive cameo against Liverpool, and then I thought he was probably one of Newcastle's best player for the opening 45 against Leeds. Yeah. And I'd like to have seen him build on that. I think if he had been fit, I think it would have been a case to start him against Wolves. But yeah, sadly that's not the case, and he's only out for technically a month or so, but it's because of so many games, and that's what Newcastle season is now between now and Christmas. So many games, and any sort of like 2 or 3 week injuries rules you out for so long. But it's a massive shame because I think he's had sort of a history with ankle injuries, and I didn't really like the sound of it after when he came off at half time. His ankle swelled up against Leeds. I sort of feared the worst then, and then I suppose that those fears have been concerned. I suppose the good news is that they've got another body back in there, and Joelinton. Yeah,
that's the one positive injury update that came from it. Joelinton, obviously groin issue, missed the Leeds game, didn't go away with Brazil due to the groin issue, picked up against Liverpool, which forced him off, but Eddie Howe said big boost to have him back available. Just before we move on to Joelinton, Jacob Ramsey thing I thought was quite interesting because he did media duties this week.
Yeah.
And if you're out for a month, media duties just feel a bit odd, so maybe it's been a flare-up or something like that. I'm speculating there, but I just thought it was quite odd that he'd be put forward for media duties if he was not going to play for another month.
Yeah, and Eddie Howe's answer, he did reference the Leeds injury, so unless it's, I don't know how this works, but unless he's rested and he's went back into training and it's happened again, which that would be really concerning.
He's been in training this week as well, so
I don't know if he's trained as such. I think he's been at the training ground. I think there's
been on the grass.
Has he?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Well,
as has Joelinton, and that is more positive.
Yeah, if it's a flare up with his ankle this week, I think that's a big concern, because they've obviously given him a period of rest, and then if he's went back in the first contact he's had and it's swelled back up, that is a bit of a concern. But yeah, no, the positive news is that Joelinton is back, and I think if Jacob Ramsey had been fair, I'd have said rest Joelinton for Barcelona, but I think you probably have to play Joelinton now, because if we're sticking with the midfield, Bruno as well.
That comes to your question. Bruno has started the last 67 Premier League games for Newcastle. You have to go back to when he missed the game due to suspension 2 seasons ago for the last time he didn't start a Premier League game for Newcastle, so you'd still expect him to start, but it's not easy for him after Bolivia away on a Wednesday morning.
And Ancelotti done him a good one and all, because he was the only outfield player to play the 2 games, both 90 minutes as well. Bugger. Give the guy a rest, man. He plays so many games.
I know, yeah.
But no, that's not ideal, really. I think
there's jet lag as well to consider.
Jet lag, I think he only got back in Newcastle yesterday. We'll train today. Eddie Howe done asked about Joelinton. Bruno said he would hold discussions with him. They said that there was something they wanted, and let's wait and see if he'll be involved. I imagine he'll be involved. Will he start? I think he probably will, because the significance of the game is big. They've got to go and get the first Premier League win of the season. But the player could have done with some rest of some kind.
Yes.
But look, he's I'm trying to think of the word. He's bionic. I don't know if that's the right word, but he doesn't pick up injuries, but I just don't want them to push him to the level where he is susceptible to getting an injury.
Yeah.
But I think he probably plays on Saturday. I don't think it's ideal, but I think he probably plays because of the enormity of the game. They've got to go and get 3 points on Saturday. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, and you even throw into the equation Sandro Tonali, who's been away with Italy, scored for Italy in a 5-4 thriller win in Israel, so everyone's been quite busy during the international break as the lawnmowers come out. On that note, we'll have an international, I say an international break, we'll have an advert break and we'll see you after a few words from our sponsors. Here they are. Comply IT Limited. Worrying about disposing of your old IT equipment? Don't be. Comply IT handle everything. Secure collection, detailed tracking and certified data destruction. That's Comply IT Limited. Four Rivers Financial Planning offer holistic financial advice for all stages of life, ensuring your plan remains robust and adaptable in the ever-changing world we live in. Just like that, we've been transported to the front of the Newcastle Media Centre. Those lawnmowers were getting in the way a little bit.
Always do, man.
Yeah.
But we can't call people for doing the jobs.
Yes. So, Newcastle United don't have an established Premier League proven goal scorer to lead the line when they're looking for the first win of the new Premier League season against Wolves, Jordan. They do have a record signing in Nick Woltemade, who can play up front, as Eddie Howe
Who can play up front?
Well, Eddie Howe referred to him as a striker, but then also said where he plays deeper, number 10. He played as a number 8 in his youth, the versatile player. So, yeah, what does tomorrow hold for Newcastle's 23-year-old, 65 million, 69 million club record signing, Nick Woltemade?
It's got to start, Annie.
Surely.
It's unquestionable for me. It's not even a word.
Yeah.
No, I thought I could use a better one, but no, he has to start. It's no debate. There was a couple of debates in the press room about maybe Wissa coming in and retaining his place. I just don't think that's the correct thing to do. I think you paid.
You play both.
A lot of. Wissa on the right. No, I think. Look, I think patience is required with him. As I say, he's not a ready-made Premier League striker yet. I think from what I've watched during the national break, again in a sort of a very, I would say, poor Germany side, there's a lot of things that need sort of ironed out, edges to his game. I think that you can see there's a talent there, but I just think coming to the league, bear in mind his history before this was really only one good season in the Bundesliga. Of course, a very, very good Euros. I just think he's a player that needs time. And I'm sure he'll get it, and the patience is required when it comes to him. But realistically, with the Yoane Wissa situation, there's no alternative. He has to play. It's like it's been thrown the deep end. I think in an ideal world, Eddie Howe would have started Yoane Wissa on Saturday, and Nick Woltemade came on the second half, whatever. I think that would have been an ideal way of doing it, and then maybe in future Premier League games as well. But that's maybe not an option, especially not. It's definitely not an option on Saturday. So you've got to throw him in, and let's see if he sinks or swim, which that's not right to say that actually, because as I say, it'll be only his first game, but yeah, he has to play. There's no two ways about it.
Yes, definitely. I mean, you don't sign a player for that sum of money for him to sit on the bench behind a player who you tried to flog on deadline day in Wissa. So I think it would send completely the wrong message if you didn't start Nick Woltemade. And obviously there will be a bedding in process, but there's no better way to learn than by doing. If he comes on and scores a goal against Wolves, what better way to start? And then that Yoane Wissa sort of concern is quelled somewhat. Don't get us wrong, I think Nick Woltemade will need a bit of patience, and you asked Eddie Howe about that and you addressed that, and I think that's fair. As previous signings, Alexander Isak needed patience initially, even though he got off to a flyer against Liverpool as it happened 3 years ago. So yeah, I think Nick Woltemade, it's hard to judge international games.
Yeah, no, totally hard to
like
judge.
for Germany. Yeah. Look, they were against poor opposition as well. I watched them against Northern Ireland. They weren't good. Nick Woltemade was isolated. I mean, he technically got an assist, but it was
it's an accidental assist.
Yeah, it was a tackle really. So the jury's out, but it's going to be with all the new signings, and I think it still is with most of them.
Yeah.
Not even grass. Still,
no,
really not video.
You can't judge them off the two Germany games. I suppose you can sort of gauge it. And you look at them two games. Was it a difficult 2 games from? Yes. Was it? Well, not difficult. Was it frustrating 2 games from? Yes. I don't want to judge them off that, because as I say, I would never judge a player until I see him in black and white. I think the pressure. Ideally, you wouldn't. I'm trying to think of the term. You want to hit the ground running initially, and I don't think he'll do that. But I hope he does, and I think he might have to because of the Yoane Wissa situation.
Well, Eddie Howe said he's had a good week of training, which is why I, like what I said at the start of the video, why I may have regardless of Yoane Wissa's situation, started Nick Woltemade over Wissa, and that's because Wissa hasn't played a Premier League game since last May, hasn't played a competitive game at club level or any game at club level since May. Nick Woltemade has had a full pre-season, he's played the opening game or two for Stuttgart this season, and then he's played twice for Germany, started 2 games. Yoane Wissa not training properly, not having a full pre-season, playing 2 games for DR Congo and then having 1 day's training today, opposed to Nick Woltemade's situation where he's had trained since Tuesday. That's probably why I'd give him the nod, knowing how Eddie Howe is. But when you're looking at proven Premier League goal scorers, obviously Wissa would be the man in an ideal situation. But I think regardless, I probably would have leaned more towards Woltemade anyway, just based on what I was saying. Eddie Howe wouldn't. You talk about throwing Nick Woltemade in from the cold. Yoane Wissa, arguably, from the cold as well. I mean, scoring
baptism of fire for him, not playing for 3 months and then all of a sudden having 2 games in 4 days, was it? Yeah. So, look, I think obviously he's going to play. I'd be surprised if he wasn't named in the start 11. And let's see how he does that. Look, I talk about excitement. I'm still excited to see Nick Woltemade. They paid a lot of money for him, as I say. He's got there's a lot of excitement around him for what he's done in his season in Germany and obviously Euros as well. A lot of ability there, a unique footballer in terms of his size. You can see he's like sort of a cliche, but he's got good feet for a big man. Been waiting to get that in there. Yeah. So I think I'm still excited to see him, but I think I would have had a lot more confidence. This isn't a knock on Woltemade, because I think he needs an adaptation period. I don't think he's going to quite get that now, depending on the severity
of crack on, son. That's what it'll be.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see him and see how he fares. And look, he might hit the ground running straight away. I just think that the message from Eddie Howe from the start, even at the Leeds game, is patience. And I think they recognise that they've got a player there who needs that patience. Yeah. And ideally, I think he'll still get it, but I think the pressure's on a little bit more. It all goes back along this as out for, but obviously he's going to play this weekend, and they need him to perform well if they're going to get a result.
Yeah, but all he needs is a goal, and everyone's loving him.
Exactly. So he scores on his debut. It's like, yeah, he's hit the ground running straight away. Now you think I've said he has load of tosh. So.
Hopefully in our next video we're singing Nick Woltemade's praises. But yes. on that note, and Nick Woltemade, we're both in agreement he should lead the line. What's the rest of your team looking like?
Yes, so I ditched the 5 at the back.
No hand injury for Nick Pope.
Yeah.
After high-fiving everyone in the game.
Yeah, Jacob Murphy's alright as well.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Howe is quite not funny, but the international schedule usually has in the past sort of lent towards players that are maybe remain with the group.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would be a bit of a hint. I'd ditch the 5 at the back. I'd go back to the 4-3-3. Nick Pope, now his hands cooled down from all that great off run.
Should have brought his gloves, really. It was a misstep from him.
Yeah, Nick Pope at goal. Livramento right back.
Right back?
Yes.
Oh, here
yes,
we go.
Yeah, Livramento right back. Fabian Schär, Dan Burn. You've got to put Lewis Hall back in the team.
Come on.
I think 2 very positive displays or cameos against Liverpool and Leeds before the international break. For as good as Livramento has been, Lewis Hall is still the best left back of the football club. Now it's up to the team Livramento to translate his former left back over right back, which
historically he
hasn't done that in black and white, but it's quite a funny one with Livramento now, because he's playing left back for England the other day. So have they now got the 2 best left backs in the country?
I think they do.
But I think for Livramento to have sort of not a long-term future here, but to be in the team long-term, I think he has to translate his form of a right back, because that's what he was signed as. He was signed as a right back. Lewis Hall, I think everyone's forgetting how good he is being out. So I think he was arguably the best left back in the country. Maybe sort of with Kirkers at the time, Lewis Skelly to some Arsenal fans.
No,
but I don't agree with
let's not say
that.
No, Anthony Robinson, I'll give you.
Yeah.
Kirkers, Lewis Hall, those were the 3.
They were the 3. Yeah.
Lewis Skelly, no.
No, I don't agree. But for the purpose of people that have been mentioned, he was sort of in that bracket, sort of the best left backs in the Premier League last year. And before he got injured, Lewis Hall was absolutely up there. So I think he's got to play. So yeah, long tangent on whether Lewis Hall should play. What's your back four before we move on to midfield?
I like it. I think it's hard to drop Kieran Trippier, but I do agree. I do like you need to find a way to get Lewis Hall back into the team as soon as possible. Whether starting him against Barcelona is the right thing to do, I'm not sure, if he hasn't started since the back end of February. So I think tomorrow's game is an ideal one for him. So yes, I'd do that back four you've just named. Nick Pope in goal. Midfield three is interesting, but I think you go with the main trio, the Tonali, Joe Linton and Bruno.
Yep, I think so as well.
Despite the question marks over Bruno being away with Brazil, but ultimately he's your captain. He starts every game when fit, and he is fit, maybe fatigued, but fit.
Yep, no, I agree with that. Lewis Miley hasn't quite done enough in games to sort of think, oh, could you put him in place a Bruno, or save Joe Linton's legs for Thursday? But I don't think anyone in that midfield has really grasped what's caught the eye, apart from Jacob Ramsey, who is obviously now injured. So I agree with that midfield three. The front three is where Woltemade as a striker for me. It probably picks itself actually. I think the left hand side probably is Harvey Barnes. As much as I was really unimpressed by him at Leeds and haven't really impressed by his start of the season, I think they haven't got a left winger unless you were to move an Anthony Lang over there, which I don't think you'll do. So Harvey Barnes on the left, and then it's either between Jacob Murphy and Anthony Lang on the right. And I would stick with Jacob Murphy, I think, because I thought, as much as he was quiet, it wasn't his greatest performance against Leeds, but he was still the biggest threat. I think had 2 shots, which
he was the only one who really threatened the goal.
Exactly, yeah. So I think because he's been with the team as well, during the international break, does that give him the advantage as well in Eddie Howe's eyes? And I'd probably stick with Jacob Murphy, and then Anthony Lang with another cameo off the bench, where hopefully this time he makes an impact. Yeah,
I agree. I think that's what Eddie Howe will do, but I'd personally like to see Anthony Elanga starting on the right, just because we're talking about that bedding in process and that patience. He needs games. He can't be just coming on to games where Newcastle are struggling and go make a difference just from the cold almost. I'd like to see him start and really try and make an impact on the side, which he's yet to do so far. And Jacob Murphy, you know what you're going to get from him. I think he's a dependable player. I think Eddie Howe will start him, but I'd just like to see more from Anthony Elanga. So, moving on. Obviously, plenty to talk about in the press conference. We spoke about injuries, Nick Woltemade, how Newcastle are going to line up. Transfer window is now closed, and this is the first chance most of us will have had to speak to Eddie Howe about the whole Alexander Isak saga, which I'm sure everyone is done with, really. I think Eddie Howe's done with it. Eddie Howe was done with it before it even ended. But yeah, I thought Eddie Howe was quite open about the whole Alexander Isak thing when asked about it, and it's the first time he said Alexander Isak went on strike and their relationship basically was badly affected by that, or negatively affected by that.
Yeah, no, so, I think it would have been pretty obvious assumption to make, but the fact that he's came out and admitted that, I feel like, the Isak situation, I don't think we want to hear about it. He's gone, but I think his actions did upset a lot of people at the football club. I think that was made clear. So yeah, he's gone now. Good riddance in my eyes. He didn't want to be here. They sort of moved on from that by signing 2 strikers. Strikers, yeah. Well, because that leads on to your question. Because
I was like, you've signed 2 strikers. You kept saying 2 strikers. These are versatile players. Yoane Wissa made his name really as a left winger. He just, out of circumstance, became a striker for Brentford, scored lots of goals. Nick Woltemade, historically, has been an attacking midfielder or a number 10. So it was only last season. You're signing 2 strikers on the back of one season where they've only played striker, whereas previously they played deeper or out wide. And Eddie Howe was like, yeah, but the versatile players, so that's positive.
Yeah.
So have they ended the transfer window looking to replace 2 strikers and ended it with 0? Eddie Howe, the versatile, the strikers, they will play as strikers for Newcastle. He said how they get them both in the team, not sure yet. Whether they're playing different positions, not sure yet, but the intention is to play them as strikers. So the strikers,
which they have to, because there's no one else.
The strikers as far as we're concerned. So we've paid Alexander Isak lip service because it did take up a few questions in the press conference, whether you like it or not. I quite like one of Eddie Howe's answers.
I know what you're gonna. Yeah, come on, yeah.
Because obviously we've had David Hopkinson appointed as CEO. Eddie Howe spoke about him. He said he's very positive.
He was like laughing out, and he said, wasn't he?
Like very positive. Well, shouldn't he be positive?
Well, he was like laughing. You could tell he was. It must be a moment that he's had an interaction with David Hopkinson and makes him laugh. Yeah, because he spoke very positively. Nice communication from David Hopkinson. I mean, he's had very little to lose. It's been an international break. Good
Nothing's
though, because
happened, but we've had, I think, 3 separate lines of communication from him since his appointment just over a week ago. So yeah, it's good to see. And Eddie Howe sort of laughed to himself and said, I laugh because he's so positive. And it's like, well, a CEO should be positive, Eddie. Why is he not positive? But yeah, just reading between the lines there. One thing Eddie Howe was asked, I think it was Scott Wilson, Northern Echo, asked Eddie Howe about the sporting director appointment. We understand Ross Wilson from Nottingham Forest, he's the man set to replace the outgoing Paul Mitchell who left at the start of the summer. And yeah, Eddie Howe was asked, there's a narrative surrounding Eddie Howe that he struggles to work with sporting directors, doesn't necessarily get on. And Eddie Howe went, no, I've got on with sporting directors such as Dan Ashworth and Richard Hughes, previously at Bournemouth. Sort of ignoring the elephant in the room, the sporting director who's just left the club, which, look, Eddie Howe's never came out and said it, but we know it's very well documented that they never really saw eye to eye.
I see it. I go back to the video that me and Liam did at Adidas in Germany, when it was the tone in that room when Paul Mitchell had first been appointed. Eddie Howe was asked about it, was so off. Yeah, and I'm not sure I'd ever recovered. I think they obviously worked together and there was a working relationship, but was the chemistry there?
They didn't speak. They went weeks without speaking, or months without speaking at times, like in a professional capacity. Which, for a sporting director, sort of the guy spearheading your football strategy, and your manager, your head coach, these are 2 people who should work very well together, very closely, and it just never really happened. Even though what resulted was the most successful season in Newcastle's recent history, but. Yeah, I don't think that's because of Paul Mitchell. It's more testament to the work Eddie Howe and his players did. Yep,
incredible job he did in the circumstances. As I say, like, it's been every summer just seems like a bit of chaos at Newcastle. Like last summer was the sporting director summer, and the PSR and whatever, and then this summer it's you boss the squad, then you lose your top goal scorer. It's just constant chaos at Newcastle, but do we love it?
I mean, we'll love it, but it's as you're pulling your hair out.
Yeah, it's do we love it? Yeah, sort of.
It's never quiet. There's always something to write about. So.
Exactly, it keeps us busy.
And we'll be back at St James's Park, which should be nice.
With a new media suite.
Yes, we'll
new seats.
Be sure to capture what we can.
Will I?
And yeah, we'll be joined by our third Geordie journal, Liam Kennedy,
and space from the middle here.
Hopefully, hopefully reflecting on Newcastle's first win of the season, and Nick Woltemade a hat-trick, and we're saying, wow.
I tell you, he's going to hit the ground running. I tell you.
Who is this man? So yeah, hopefully more positive news to come from St James's Park and from Newcastle United when we next do our video on Saturday evening. Thanks for watching, and please remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for all your latest Geordie Journals content. Cheers.